So like with my last vlog, you can probably see the similarities, you know, same layout, except I'm sitting on a stool today, not a chair, so slightly lower, lighting not quite so good, and same jumper even, which is something I try not to do in my vlogs. I like showing off all my clothes. Like last week's vlog, this is sort of just a me sit in front of camera and pour out my heart to my wonderful viewers. Again, I've already recorded it in bits, but I kind of had a complete and utter breakdown. I've now calmed, and I'm ready to say this all. You see, last night my dad told me that he had read an article that he thought sounded very much like me, and he thought I should read it. So I've just read it, and it actually really upset me because it sounded so unbelievably familiar. I don't want to quote it without telling you what it is because plagiarism. It's the foreword for a book called Safety Skills for Asperger Women. I'll put the link in the thingy-majingy below. Anyone that knows me knows that I was diagnosed with Asperger's about 1.5 years ago. And at first, I was in denial, you know, I took it pretty hard. I think mainly out of anger, you know, it was like, I've been struggling all this time, and you knew, you know, my mum knew, you know, and listened to her. The school admitted to having known when I told them, you know, and you did nothing about it. I could have been helped. Yeah, I went into denial. I was really rather upset. After seeing several different types of doctors and counsellors and things, you know, people started saying, you know, you've got to take this seriously. You know, this plays more of a part in your life than the epilepsy does. I talk about epilepsy, write about it a lot. It's a big part of my life, but now so is this. And a couple of months ago, I decided, you know what? I need to learn exactly how this affects my life, exactly what this is, what part of me this is. And I decided to start a project. I wasn't planning on turning it public for a long time, you know, potentially 20-30 years. But I started writing a couple of short bits about things that had been going on, started doing a bit of research, and then this piece of writing really hit me and made me realise that, you know what, I need to get this out to the world. The reason I do talk and write so much about epilepsy is because I've been through a lot with it, as I said in my last blog, and I don't want other people to have to go through the same. You know, I want to be able to give advice to those that have it and give advice to those that don't. Send the information out there, and I figured I want to do the same with Asperger's. I went through so much because of a late diagnosis. If I can help someone else get an earlier diagnosis, then that's what I'm going to do. But I need to understand it before I can start helping you understand it. So this is basically the introduction to my latest project called Untitled Non-Fiction. For a very Asperger's-y reason, really. You know, when I first started writing it, I didn't know what to call it, so I just called it that, Untitled Non-Fiction, which is exactly what it was. But then, of course, it became titled, so it's really titled non-fiction. So that's basically what this is, and I'm now going to open up my heart. Hopefully, I won't start crying again. So the bit that really struck me in this piece was this. I'm going to read it straight off the website, because I don't know how to paraphrase it. Unfortunately, sometimes the girl who has Asperger's syndrome is vulnerable to friendship predators who take advantage of her naivety, social immaturity, and longing to have a friend. Inevitably, there will be times when she has to engage with other children, and she may prefer to play with boys whose play is more constructive than emotional and adventurous rather than conversational. Many girls and women who have Asperger's syndrome have described to clinicians and in autobiographies how they sometimes think they have a male rather than a female brain. Having a great understanding and appreciation of the interests, thinking and humour of boys. The girl who has Asperger's syndrome can be described as a tomboy, eager to join in the activities and conversations of boys rather than girls. Now, that's not necessarily me now, but as a kid, that really was me. There's a few distinct things I remembered when I read this. One was the excitement I got the first time my mum bought me a boys t-shirt. I was just like, yay, it's a boys t-shirt. I always preferred red instead of pink. There's another thing, and this was what I've never admitted this to anyone before. I just told it to my dad now. It also talks a lot about how girls sometimes go off into other worlds in order to hide from this social awkwardness that they get and this fear that they have of social stuff. And when I was a kid, I had a wall of my own in my upstairs toilet, and when I was in the upstairs toilet, I wasn't me, I was this boy. And I would sit there on the toilet, not actually even go into the toilet, just sit there as this boy and talk to this giant group of imaginary people about my day, and it was a big part of my life. I don't quite remember why or what or how long it went on for, but it's something I used to do. you know, I just thought it was imagination. Now, looking back at it, it sounds completely and utterly ridiculous and like a complete and utter freak. I mean, you know, it continues even to an extent now. I have a severe insecurity about the unknown and the future. You know, that is a big part of my Asperger's. So I like to plan and imagine what my future might be like. Bus journeys, the bath, when I'm in bed. I sort of live this future life in my head, but I always see it through my husband's point of view, not my own. And that, I guess, a male mind. I've always preferred boy things, you know. I love football, love Doctor Who, I love Meccano. It mentions how young children may prefer non-gender specific toys like Lego. Meccano is pretty similar. God, thinking about it now, I don't know why I got so emotional in the first place. I guess it's just a realisation. I mean, it also mentions about fantasy worlds and sci-fi and stuff, like Harry Potter, and how they may relate to Harry Potter. Oh my god, when I was reading the Harry Potter books, I explained that in my last blog as well. Every time he would see Voldemort, you know, he gets that pain in his head and then he can see what Voldemort's doing. I compared that to when I have my seizures. And, you know, everyone knows Doctor Who, the biggest sci-fi franchise probably of all time, minus Star Trek, Star Wars, and The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. You know, that is my escape route. It's what I do when I'm stressed. It's the only thing that ever truly makes me feel better. That's part of just who I am. Anyway, there's no complete productive route I can take with this because there's no analysis I can give of you. It also mentions how although they may not be very sociable, they could be very good at noticing what's right and analysing people, which is what I do so much without even realising. I am just like an analyst. Don't know what the word is. So I'm gonna end it here. But before I go, I just want to say, you know, thank you so much for all the support you gave me with my last blog. The positive comments I got really made me feel so amazing, and I hope the same happens with these. You know what? If you've been through similar things, please tell me your story, and I will try my best to support you, because as I said, I want to be able to help people with this, and you can't give out information until you've collected it. So thank you so much, and ask, you know, please no negative comments, because I was bullied for 6 years pretty much non-stop because of this kind of thing. I'm now gonna end this blog, but with my left hand, not my right hand, because I got my new ring on, which is really pretty. Alright then, David Tennant salute, and goodbye.